Steve, we are just about to start another season. Just give us a sense of the excitement as the 24-25 campaign is about to get underway.
Well, it's incredible that it's 3 months on, virtually to the day that when we played Leicester City in the final game, and the time's absolutely flown by. From a memorable day when Sammy scored 2 goals to retain our championship status. So obviously, first and foremost, a bit of an apology to the fan base that we put them through a bit of a turbulent season, both on and off the pitch last year. We don't want to go through that again because it was no good for any of our blood pressures or health. So we're trying to now, we've restructured over the summer. We've spent a really frenetic summer looking at staffing, looking at resources, looking at all the different facilities we've got, and made some fundamental structural changes to it all, as been read in different press. So from the academy, which is obviously outstanding and a jewel in our crown, we've done a slight tweak in that Stuart Jones will now be still retaining head of academy, but with a primary focus on the 17 to 21-year-old group. So that development pathway, loaning out of players to get them to the level that we need for John Eustace to include in their squad. That is really, really important. So he will have that remit, and Paul Gray will be stepping in as academy manager for the 9 to 16-year-olds to develop that foundation phase. So that was in consultation with Stuart Jones. So that's a step forward, and we're looking for improvement, as I say, in that 17 to 21-year-olds bracket. We've also, at the senior training centre, there was a decision made to not have a director of football role within the club, and that's been now split in between head of football operations, with Rudy Gested joining us after being with us for quite a number of months looking at the club, plus Adam Owen, who took a little bit of a while to get in, but he's come in as head of technical development, along with John Park, who's arrived as head of recruitment and emerging talent. So between the three of them, we've got a real strong blend of experience, skill set, looking at recruitment not only in the UK but further afield. That's been demonstrated by signing Magda Gea from Belgium, and also obviously Yuki Ohashi, which is a great signing from Japan as well, which opens up another market to us. So that's the structure going forward on that level, all to support John Eustace, the head coach, of course. So we feel that we're in a strong position there. At Ewood, Sahil Sheikh, who still is the owner's representative, has become a much more full-time operational role, where he stepped up as Chief Operating Officer, looking at all the commercial aspects at Ewood. That covers retail, ticketing, sponsorship and hospitality. And I can go through some of the figures in that later in the interview. Lindsay Talbot, Head of Operations, will be taking on the environmental sustainability level as well, in line with the EFL Green Code, Green Strategy, which is an important part of the club going forward. So there's been quite a bit of movement over the summer, but hopefully we're in a better position to deliver on all fronts, both on and off the pitch going forward.
How challenging a summer has it been with so much change?
Very challenging, because it's difficult when people leave the club. That's one challenge. It's not nice, but but then you have to put the bricks back in the wall and rebuild again. So once you get it done after a few months, then you hope that you're in a better shape to move forward and in a much more positive light.
How important is that structure, both STC Academy and Ewood, for the long term of the football club?
Yeah, well, there's many challenges in football. It changes a lot, as we all know, season to season. So we have to look at how we can generate more commercial income, how we handle the ever-increasing cost base in terms of how things, even from grass seed right the way through to utilities, have gone up by 20 to 30%. So that is a challenge. But obviously the big thing is, how do we get a competitive squad on the pitch to drive the club forward, because that is the engine room of any club. And we need to be able to make sure we've got the most competitive squad for the budget we've got, which has increased this year, along with a transfer fund that's on request from the owners. So we need to try and build up the squad. We've done it already with 5 in so far, and hopefully a few more to come. So let's try and keep building on that side as well.
Finance has been a hot topic over the course of the past few months. Can you give us an idea of the current climate in which the club are operating?
Following strong player trading last season, We'll show a small profit in our accounts for 23-24. The owners have signed off and approved the 24-25 accounts and underwriting all losses that I need as a UK director. As I said before, the player budget has increased, and also we have a transfer budget on request. So we're in pretty good shape.
There is the court case coming up later this month. How much of an impact has that had? Does it have? And what is your understanding of the situation regarding that?
Yeah, I can only reiterate what I've said in different forums, is that the owners have categorically told me and informed me that it doesn't have any impact on the operational aspect of the club. They're still able to remit funding to the club. They are also, obviously, with the court case that's pending, at the moment they've got to put a guarantee against any funding they give to the club. Every pound they give us, they have to double up with their guarantee. They obviously want to remove that. And at the moment the process is, which I've explained, is that the funds arrive. We have to support any spending of the funds with bank statements. We then have to get it signed off by audited accountants, and then it's sent back to India. It works, it's quite easy, quite streamlined, but we want to remove that in sort of step more into a more clear approach going forward, where money can be remitted like they did in the past.
Is that the hope with this court case then later this month, that if we get their wish and we get the verdict they will want, that then that obstacle will be removed, if obstacle is the right word?
Yeah, well, I've been informed that it's about technical and legal issues. I think one of the issues is to try and remove the guarantee towards the funding of the football club, which they're going to go for. It's been a long, ongoing process. They want it to come to an end as soon as possible, the owners. We want it to come to an end. I'm sure the supporters want it to come to an end as well, as soon as possible.
Despite the court cases, how supportive have the owners been, and do they still remain to be to the football club?
Great question. They brought me in 7 years ago, come this December, and in those 7 years they've been absolutely fully supportive of my request for funding. Never ever let me down, and even in the difficult times last season, when they had pressure on them on the court case, they still managed to fund the club. They're going to fund it. They've given me their undertaking that they'll fully fund the club going forward, and I've got no doubt that they will. And obviously they send their best wishes to John Eustace, all the players, all the staff and all the supporters, that we have a really good, positive season.
You mentioned the budget has been set for this season. Just give us an idea, the finances, the player trading, but all everything like that. What situation are the football club in terms of being able to bring players to the club?
Well, I think most supporters understand that when you sell a player, you don't get all the money in one hit. So I haven't got a huge pot of funds arriving in one hit, unfortunately, because that would be nice to have. We get it over a number of payments, instalments over a number of years. Whatever we receive goes into the cash flow, and then we obviously balance that through the running of the club, where we're looking at increased player wages over the course of 12 months. Plus we're looking at a transfer fee pot of funds, or transfer funds, that we can call on request. So when we get a player that's going to cost a fee, we can request that from the owners. And so far, on everything we've done, they've approved all the transfer requests.
How pleased have you been with the business that we have been able to do? So 5 senior players, and then there have been, at low levels, younger levels, players brought in as well.
Yeah, I think at the end of last season, the general consensus was that the team struggled in 4 areas, and that was leadership, it was resilience, it was power, and it was pace. And it was something that we've discussed at length with John Eustace. And so obviously the experience and leadership has come in through 3 players who've got enormous league experience, in McFadzean, who was superb for us last season at the tail end, Danny Batt, who's come in, plus Andreas Weimann, who is another great capture as well. So I think from the leadership and experience is a tick in the box. I think resilience-wise, with the return of Lewis Travis, that's added to our resilience. Power in pace, we've managed to bring in Mac De Geer, who is a character and hopefully excites all of the fans with his pace and power and his charisma, I suppose. But and obviously Yuki Ohashi as well brings a different dimension. Very good technical player, very good on the ball, can score a goal, so we're excited by him as well. So, but I still think we need to add a bit more pace and power to the squad, and possibly a little bit more in terms of the balance on the left-hand side, and that's what we'll be focusing on in the next couple of weeks.
So there is still the hope that there will be more additions to the squad before this transfer window closes then?
Yeah, the target is to strengthen with a few more coming in. I would think 2 or 3. And obviously we've also got to look at, as we bring players in, we've got to release some of our young players out on loan just to make sure that they get the required minutes to develop their career so that they come back the next season in a better shape, similar to what we done with Hayden Carter and with Scotty Wharton.
I know John Eustace spoke about the situation with Sam Schmodix. Is that still ongoing, and what is the latest on that?
Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster of a few weeks. Obviously, we would love Sammy to stay. In fact, I texted him to say nothing would give me greater pleasure than you walking out with a squad against Derby County, the first game of the season, on Friday night. But obviously, you know, at his age, every player wants to play at the top level. We all get that. And especially at Sammy's age, where he's 29 next birthday, you know, the clock's ticking for him. So we have to be aware of his personal situation. But from a club situation, we'd love to keep him. We'd love him to spend the rest of his days with us, really, in his playing career. But the situation's always live whilst the transfer window's open. So we'll have to see how we get on in the next couple of weeks. But he's back training with the squad. He's integrating in the squad. He seems to have picked up into his effervescent, characterful self. So let's see how we go for the next couple of weeks.
We stayed up last season. John Eustace came in, ensured that we kept our championship status. He's coming up to 6 months in charge. How would you assess the period that he's been head coach of this football club?
Well, I think when the decision was made to change the head coach, the only remit that was given to John Eustace was keep us in the league. He did it previously with Birmingham, so mission accomplished there by the skin of our teeth, but he brought that resilience and team spirit back in, where I think we were just drifting away from that at one stage. So he done a hell of a job in terms of that. And at Birmingham, after he kept them up, he managed to get to the upper echelons of the league. And we're not saying he has to do that automatically, but we just think the way he'll set up the team, and that will be difficult to beat, and hopefully make Ewood a really strong place for us. And I would think that we'd be looking to be up top half of the table and hanging around the playoffs and see where it goes, because it's, as we all know, it's a crazy league, the championship, and if you can be in the top half, then you're in with a shout.
I was going to say, what are the aspirations for this season? I think first and foremost, not to have the kind of drama we had towards the tail end of last campaign, but is that top half and pushing for playoffs, you feel, a realistic goal?
Yeah, look, it's a very competitive league. Every game, you know, teams can beat each other. We know what it's like. We can go to Bristol City midweek last year and get absolutely thumped in a difficult evening, and then we go to Leeds, and against all odds, you know, Sammy pops up and sticks one in the back of the net. And one of the great memorable moments of, you know, last year alongside Newcastle and Leicester, and, you know, 1 or 2 other games. But yeah, it's a tough league, but hopefully, you know, not as strong at the top end as last year when Leicester came down, and, you know, and other teams up there. But you've still got the Leeds and the Middlesbroughs and the big city clubs. So hopefully John will stabilise things, get a good start to the season, and then we build from there.
Away from the football side of things, you mentioned a lot of the change that's happened over the course of the summer. We've heard from Rudy, so we understand a little bit about his role. What about that of Adam Owen, and how does that dovetail in with John Park and as head of recruitment? Yeah,
well, Rudy's obviously working very closely with John Park on recruitment. It's great because Rudy's era and age group are now sporting directors and head coaches of other clubs, so that's a natural link into teams across Europe and other parts of the globe as well. John Park's very experienced, as I said, about recruitment, great contacts across the world, so that's exciting. Adam Owen was brought in for technical development. Obviously he's got massive experience of working in different countries, and again he knows more of the emerging talent market, but also players who he's brought up and developed themselves, so he can add another string to the recruitment bow. But he's more been brought in to look at the whole technical development, coach development, DNA, culture, right the way through from our under-9s right the way through the first team, working right across the board with Stuart Jones, the coaches at the academy, the coaches here at the STC, and obviously making sure that everything dovetails into John Eustace and how he wants to operate as well.
Is that thinking not having just one person director of football, that's now spread across a few different roles?
Yeah, much more spread. The onus not with one person, but a lot of collective groups using all that experience and skills to hopefully come out with what we all want is the development and acceleration of young players in the team. The acquisition of good players through smart recruitment, and obviously developing the players who we've already got in the building to make sure we've got a robust, resilient and good squad going forward.
Does Adam Wharton, his development, his ultimate sales show how important the academy has been and continues to be for this football club?
Yeah, well, it's a great case, a great example of somebody coming into the club at a very tender age of about 7 and developing right the way through to 19, a wonderful talent. But yeah, it's a great example, and we can use it to discuss with parents as well as future stars of the club. Unfortunately, there's a challenge when a player gets to a certain level in our academy, which is fantastic, and the big clubs just come in and swoop. So unfortunately, we've lost Rory Finneran, to Newcastle United. Couldn't agree a fee, was way beneath what we wanted, so we've gone to tribunal. That'll be pulling through in the next few months. But we did manage to retain Igor, the Tajin, the striker, who is a wonderful talent. And we've got to make sure that we can keep him, get him in the first team as soon as we can, so that we retain his services for as long as possible.
Is that part of the restructuring of the academy to get these players as ready as possible for the first team as quickly as possible? Yeah,
and that's the whole role, that Stuart Jones has taken on, to look after these players, recommend them to John Eustace and the staff up here at the STC. The game's changing rapidly in terms of age profile of players. They're getting younger and younger, as could be seen in the Euros, the recent Euros. We want to push our young players through as quickly as possible, but they have to be ready, of course, both physically, mentally and technically, to be able to compete with the players we've got up here at the Senior Training Centre.
What of Ewood Park in the stadium? Because there's been work done there over the summer.
Looks great. The pitch is fantastic. Trevor Wilkins, 42 years serving to the club, absolutely brilliant ground staff with him as well. He's saying it's the best pitch he's prepared for 42 years. So that's looking great. We've done cleaning of the outside of the building because some fans were concerned about it looking a bit dirty, but we've left it as long as possible at the start of the season, so that's done. Inside we've done work on vomitories, installed new boilers, etc., etc. So it's looking in pretty good shape.
Is that part of sort of continual investment, and that's perhaps something that people don't always see but does happen?
Yeah, it's behind the scenes, and our Lindsay Talbot with her maintenance team have been working night and day to get all sites prepared. And things, as you say, that the supporter doesn't see, it's behind the scenes. But at the academy, we've had new drainage put into pitches. We've had at the STC, we've had the lodge refurbished and renovated for the young players. We've done decorating right across all sites. As I say, we've done inside and outside the stadium at Ewood, so a phenomenal amount of work going on, which you have to do with 3 big sites.
Over 9,000 season tickets have been sold for the upcoming campaign. How pleased are you with that figure?
We're pleased. Obviously, it's great, when you look at cost of living and all the other impacts on supporters these days. But we're pleased, and obviously in light of the new Sky deal as well, which is great. You get huge coverage of games and profiling, but it could impact on people turning up for live games. But so 9,000 is great. We did forecast that we'd get to 10 because we had a fairly good offer for the early bird where we reduced the prices and people did buy. We've had about 500-600 already buy on top of that since we've lifted the early bird price. So it's keep ticking over, but obviously it'll be determined now by potentially some more signings, potentially, well, definitely by performance on the pitch as well. And when we add in, the bundles of games, the half-season tickets, then we're hopeful that we will get to the 10,000 plus mark.
How important is that home support for us?
It's vital when you go away to some other teams, but the supporters were great last year, both at home and on the road, very vocal, great support of the team, and they'll be the same this year. And obviously, you know, as John says, he wants to make Ewood a fortress. So the more we can get to come in, the better it'll be, and get behind the team and give the boys, you know, the confidence and to get the results we need.
I think, John, one of John's key words is togetherness. He wants
Togetherness,
that on and off the pitch, doesn't he?
And I think, you know, it's togetherness now with everything that's going on in the country. Togetherness is a great word. Unity, calmness, still making Ewood what it always has been, a great place to come and watch your football. Historically known for it, superb traditional stadium, all embracing, everybody's welcome, you know, and we'll have a safe and secure environment with the measures we always put in place for people to attend the game and to come, whatever the result, and get home safely.
Season tickets are one revenue stream for the football club. Just give us an idea about how things have changed on the commercial side and how important that is for the club as well.
Yeah, I think retail we've done exceptionally well. I think all the 3 kits have gone down well. Pink kit, which was Marmite to some people, virtually sold out. Home kit, people loved it. That's gone off the shelves as well pretty quickly. Away kit doing well, so we've already reordered, and they'll probably do another reorder. And the target would be, which is an aggressive one, to try and sell 20,000 plus shirts, which would be fantastic and one of the biggest ever. So so things are going well on retail. Hospitality, we've moved the lounges around a bit, we've refurbished the lounges, we've taken it to different levels where people can come in from a pie and a pint to a very exclusive, you know, 5-course, 7-course offering. So there's something for everybody. Concourses with Sodexo, our catering partners. We've looked at standardising all the kiosks so everybody can buy the same drinks from every kiosk now, instead of being confused of where do I go for whatever their favourite tipple is. So that's been sorted as well. So yeah, things have moved ahead well. In sponsorship, obviously we've got to be aggressive on sponsorship. We need to drive the revenues in to try and reduce the deficit of the cost base, which is, as I said, ever increasing, but we're managing that. So yeah, things are looking very, very strong on the commercial side, and obviously now headed by Sahil to be very focused on that, along with Yasir Sufi. Unfortunately, we've lost Fraser Reid, who was a great member of staff, but the replacements who we're interviewing look very strong as well. So we're going to wish Fraser well. We will miss him because he's been a brilliant addition over the last 2 years, but he's got a terrific offer elsewhere. But I'm sure who we bring in next will be equally as good.
Do you sense there might be new and different commercial opportunities with potentially the arrival of Yuki and things like that?
I think so. If you look at what Tottenham done with Son, then in the back of the shirt and that, I think already he's got a number of thousands of followers, and Blackburn Rovers have obviously. So there's a commercial opportunity there if we're smart about what we do, and he's a terrific individual as well. And it's very interesting how him and Mac, they've changed the dynamics at the training ground just by different language, different attitude, and I think it's enriching the whole community here at the senior training centre.
Just finally, the women's team as well, they've had a big change over the course of this summer. Just explain sort of what they've been through the past few months.
Yeah, it's been a real challenge because you know, unfortunately at the moment, you know, women's football is going through change, which is great, with a new co being set up and founded, and all rights moving across to them. But obviously we need the broadcasting deals to come through and everything else to be raised, because at the moment the higher you go up in the pyramid of women's football, the costs increase exponentially, and therefore the losses increase. So we're hoping that once we get through this season, that the commercial rights will kick in next season and lift the burden from what the club has got to put in, because we overspent significantly last year. We've gone from a very part-time model to a more semi-professional model of 16 hours plus a match day. So we've increased staffing, profile and everything else to support the women. But we couldn't go full-time, and that was a big issue. The big issue was we couldn't afford it. We put in just under $500,000 last year, and to go full-time would have been $1 million. So quite rightly, players who want to play full-time went and got sought their full-time contracts, and we give them you know, all our best wishes, because they were terrific with us when we were here. But we're using now a hybrid model of the 21s and the senior players, like they do at Man City and other clubs, and that'll develop the players very quickly again, the younger players. And I think Simon Parker has been challenging for him, the head coach. He's excited by what he's got, and the main aim was stay in the championship this season, fulfil our fixtures, all being at Ewood Park. So if it's possible, we need as many supporters down there to support them and drive their commercial revenues, because that's really important, and hope to do well again this season.
You mentioned there about the opportunity to develop. That's with the players themselves. I think they're training at the academy now, but playing all the games at Ewood Park, and the chance for people to come down and see them in action and get behind the team as well.
Yeah, I think Ellis Clark, who's just left the club, and Nick Birchall will be a terrific head of women's football going forward. I think having them all based at the academy has been a real plus. So they've got a home integrated into the club, and obviously lean on the academy staff as well at times for a bit of experience and knowledge, which is all part and parcel of having a much better women's setup. And obviously playing all the games at Ewood was vital, really, so it's their home going forward. There'll only be 10 league games, with Redden dropping out of the league, but it's a big step forward.
In fact, you mentioned it's been a challenging few months off the pitch, but before that as well on the pitch. Are you hoping that going forward that the club is in a much better position on all fronts, really, for the upcoming campaign?
Yeah, I think the restructuring of staffing, I think the structure and of what we put in place for the first team with the academy, the 17 to 21s, the women's team carrying on as well in the championship. I think overall in all the different upgrading of facilities, I think we're in good shape, and I'm looking forward to a positive season this time round.